All right, let's get started. It's so great to see everybody on the chat. My name's Gina Bianchini. I am the founder and CEO of Mighty Networks, and we're super excited about this session today. So today's session is about our Mighty business plan. And our Mighty business plan, the way we have set it up and think about it is it's the simplest way to build an online business that brings people together. So I want to share a little bit about, why we exist, who we are, especially for those that don't know kind of the background and context of Mighty Networks and how we think about what we do. Then I want to take you through some very specific features of Mighty Business and the things that we think make it pretty special. Talk about best practices for migrating to Mighty Business. And, I think as we started to put this together, we realized that there's a whole other session for us to do related to migrating your current business or parts of your current business to a Mighty Network. So assume that we're going to do a separate session on that in the coming weeks. We want to share a little bit about our product roadmap and just where we are taking not just Mighty Business, but Mighty Networks in general and where our focus is. Because I think that's super important for, anybody to really have that as the context as they are evaluating and looking at platforms and teams and people to partner with. Then we actually do have a little bit of a surprise for all of you folks that, made the time for this, which we really appreciate. And then take a few questions. So we obviously will be available for questions afterwards as well. And we'll make sure that we answer everybody's questions at some point, hopefully today or soon. So with that, why don't we just go ahead and dive in? So when we think about who we serve, we talk about you all as creators with a purpose. Mighty Networks is not about, big celebrity broadcasters and people who are building a following to have a gigantic audience. We're also not probably best suited for your family and friends where you might have like an iMessage, thread going or a very small private Facebook group. Where we really focus is on the people, the creators, as hosts as we call them, who have a reason and a brand by which they're bringing people together. They want to build relationships. They want to build experiences for the people that they serve. And they want to share expertise such that, the combination, if you think about the Venn diagram, if you will, between expertise, experiences, and building deeper relationships, that's really why we exist as human beings. And it's something we're incredibly passionate about. And what's so fun about what we do at Mighty Networks is that our creators, our hosts are as passionate about it as we are. So, what are some of the different buckets of creators with a purpose? And hopefully, you guys are able to see, hey, that's me. We think about it as business coaches. Mighty Networks and specifically Mighty Business is a fantastic platform for business coaches, health and wellness influencers, lifestyle hackers, or just people that are passionate about a certain approach or framework to living your best life. Advocates and organizers, we've been incredibly fortunate to host and help, amazing support communities as well as political action committees as well. Subject matter experts, makers, instructors, authors, and podcasters, niche brands, businesses, and how we sort of think about cultural curators. So what's been fascinating for us is two things. So as we look at this and as we talk about creators with a purpose, one of the first questions we hear is, well, gosh, how many people are there that actually do this? And the answer is a lot. So what we actually have done in the last few weeks, and I think that this is absolutely fascinating, and we'll share these slides in this presentation with you as well, is the number of creators with a purpose is absolutely exploding. When we start to add up everybody from event organizers to people with Facebook groups with over 20,000 members to people who are on Instagram with large followings. There are 22 million people on Instagram who have over 1 million people that follow them. And that's, again, global numbers around the world. There are 68 million Facebook groups with over 20,000 members. There are 630,000 podcasters, and that number is growing rapidly as we move forward. There are 80 million Facebook pages for small business owners. And the reason why I share some of these specific numbers, sure, there's overlap, but what this says is that there is a cultural movement happening where our modern tools, our modern social platforms are really enabling people to very simply make a living doing something that they love, bringing people together around a shared interest, a shared passion, a shared goal. And that is the movement that we think is absolutely amazing and why we exist to serve. So here's a couple things that are really, really fascinating about what's happening in the market right now. One is that creators with a purpose are all kind of following the same pattern. And this is kind of how we think about it. And I am sure each and every one of you, and I hope, have their own thoughts about this. And I'd love your feedback as we move forward. One is it's about kind of picking a niche or picking a brand, representing something in someone's mind that is very, very clear as to what you stand for, what you're for. So for example, someone like Roger Whitney is the retirement guy, or Tara McMullen is absolutely about online small business owners and what works for online small business owners. Yoga with Adriene, very clear that Yoga with Adriene is about yoga. Beyond Type 1 is an organization and really incredible lifestyle brand for people who have Type 1 diabetes and they're the people who love them and whose lives are touched by Type 1 diabetes. As we look across these different niches, the thing that's happening is these creators with a purpose are building an audience using social media, podcasts, TED Talks in some cases, Facebook pages, Instagram, a blog. And this is the really interesting part. You guys are, and what we see in this movement is then there is the generating revenue, but also generating engagement that's actually happening off these platforms or adjacent to these platforms. And so what's happening is engagement and generating revenue is happening with, having a private website or email list that you pay monthly for. Memberships and rewards, so the ability to join an exclusive mastermind group or combination of mastermind group and online course. Offering exclusive content or being a part of the community that is producing that exclusive content, as well as then running events. And what's been fascinating to me as somebody who has spent the last 12 years of my life in and around this world of niche brands, interest-based social networks, first at Ning and now at Mighty Networks, is that the way that this pattern is emerged is really interesting, and specifically around what and how these products or services, this last piece is really evolving. And I think a couple things are happening that are really pretty compelling. So one, creators with a purpose are watching, we're all watching each other. And we're watching each other have success with the fact that fundamentally in 2018, 2019, people, your normal, average, everyday consumer, are willing to pay for experiences, relationships, and expertise. These are services as opposed to, a t-shirt, a hat, a water bottle, a makeup kit. These are experiential. And we really think about this category as experiential commerce. And the pieces in this new world of experiential commerce are kind of what I just mentioned a moment ago. Private websites and email lists, memberships and rewards, online courses, exclusive content, community and groups, as well as events, both online and in the real world. And the incredible thing about this from our perspective is that not only is there this amazing world of creators with so much, not only creativity in terms of what they're producing, but also just the skill and the passion they have and we have for bringing people together. And I think that this piece around relationships is one of the most interesting. So, we've heard and we've talked about the fact, that especially amongst a younger generation, there's demand for experiences. So 72% of millennials prefer to spend money on experiences over material things, over, you know, yet another t-shirt or bag. The really interesting thing is that millennials are spending 66% more on entertainment, which is also, I would include in that entertainment, education, the kind of content or community-driven businesses that we're talking about, than Gen X or baby boomers. So there is a fundamental cultural shift that is happening for all of us, not just in the fact that now this incredible community of creators can now, you know, share with people just a really unique take on a interest, a passion, a goal, an area of professional expertise or, you know, personal interest. But the opportunity to serve people where the demand is going up is really, really incredible. Demand for relationships as well. The more that you are able to produce the conditions by which people can build deeper, more meaningful relationships with other people around a shared interest, around a shared lifestyle, around a shared, you know, a take on the world, the more valuable that is going to become over time, in part because we are getting lonelier and lonelier. So flipping through a feed on Instagram or on Facebook, you know, the reality is that it's isolating. It's not actually bringing people together. I believe in my bones that it is going to be creators with a purpose that changes this loneliness epidemic that we have. And it's going to be around creating smaller, more intimate communities that allow for people to build real relationships with those who share a common interest or a common goal or a common passion. And lastly, you know, we have to be lifelong learners. The world is changing far too fast. And so that actually applies not just to, you know, professional expertise, and that's actually an area where Mighty Networks really sort of came up. When you look at the fact that 87% of American workers believe that they're going to have to continuously develop new skills. But I also think that sort of thirst for expertise is also having a major impact on how we approach our personal hobbies or our personal interests. So, you know, if I, for example, want to start, you know, getting into cooking or baking bread, there's a sourdough baking podcast. There's a sourdough baking online, you know, sourdough baking school. There are ways for me to fully realize and see my curiosity through to a level that is, you know, deeper and more meaningful and more interesting than anything that was possible with a static book, or even a local club. So this world of experiences, relationships, and expertise, we're like, what is this thing? And so we think about it, and we're starting to talk about it as experiential commerce. And if you are on the phone today, and it's not really on the phone, but certainly on this video, you are on the leading edge of experiential commerce. And I think that this is going to be a world and a moment that really defines where the internet is going from here, but also what is the modern small or not so small business owner who, with one person or a very small team, can define a niche, build an audience, drive engagement, and create incredible experiences for the people that want to be a part of that particular brand, that particular niche, that particular community. So that's the good news. The challenging thing about where we're sitting right now is managing this world of experiential commerce is kind of a mess. And the reason it's a mess is because, you know, the services that are out there today assume that a creator with a purpose does one of these things. So there are dedicated platforms to online courses. There are dedicated platforms to events. There are dedicated platforms to groups. There are dedicated platforms to podcasts. There are dedicated platforms to email. And some of these things absolutely deserve, you know, focus and dedication. But there's some of these things where, you know, having a separate group independent from where you're running your membership or subscriptions or, online courses is just creating kind of a mess. And, I'm curious how many of you kind of can relate to this, to this slide, to this kind of context of doing different things in different places. And, what we know to be true is that keeping all of these things separate is, one, creating a ton of work for you. Two, creating kind of a crappy experience for your members, your fans, your followers. And three, losing the opportunity for you to be more efficient and thoughtful with where you are building your audience and how you are bringing people together to engage, to charge money, such that you can then reinvest that capital, reinvest that revenue into creating something even better that gets better and better and better over time. And so, where many of Mighty Network's customers are starting, our hosts are starting, is kind of, oh my God, this is actually what's happened over the last 6 years to my business, is that I keep adding these different pieces because my fans and followers cannot get enough of the niche that I've created. The only problem is that these are all in different places. It's incredibly difficult to manage. Yes, 3 or 4 years ago, it made sense to feel like I needed to go where the people were. But now that I've established my audience, I have followers, I have people that I can build a direct relationship with, I need a better solution than doing this. And really, that's why we exist at Mighty Networks. We started in community. We are, our core reason for being will always be to bring people together. But what we have done is to follow the demand, follow the asks of our hosts, you guys, to add more and more pieces of that prior slide, of that mess. So today we offer, the ability for you as a Mighty host, as a creator with a purpose, to bring together your people, your content, integrate into that larger world that you are a part of, be able to run events. One of the areas that we are really focused on now is the ability to drive integrated payments and memberships and rewards, and really start to think about the brand and the business that you are building in a more holistic way. And that's our purpose. That's why we exist. And we really seek to do this for different types of brands and creators at different levels. So, we have a free version of Mighty Networks called the Mighty Blog Plan. And that is really for an individual creator who's just getting started. Somebody who, might have an idea, who isn't sure yet of whether or not that this is something that they want to, build a brand around, or just, have a side project. That is fantastic, and we welcome you with open arms. Our Mighty Brand Plan is kind of the next level up, and it's really designed to be kind of the perfect thing for just a community and content piece. So it has, the ability to essentially have a landing page, essentially have a website, do domain mapping on the web, which is extremely popular and something that we welcome with open arms, because we want to put your brand first. And it has all of our really engaging features, polls, questions. Polls are like the gift that keeps on giving in terms of engagement. They're incredible. We have 3 different kinds. They are magical in terms of driving, what I believe is really sort of those core reasons for a Mighty Network to exist, and for your brand and for your community to exist. What we're going to talk about today is our $57 a month Mighty Business Plan, which adds groups, it adds online courses, it adds all of our integrations. And when you take the things that come with Mighty Brand and add Mighty Business to them, something really magical happens. And then we have our Mighty Pro Plan, which is really designed for people who have and are looking at custom development, and specifically looking at or have done and unfortunately gotten burned by mobile app custom development. And we really believe that the right way for someone who is a larger brand, who's really thinking about how they're growing, from X to Y, that they, if you considered custom development, Mighty Pro is probably the best place for you to be. And so, that is kind of how our pricing breaks down today. Let me just, address directly. $57,000 to $3,000 a month is like eye-popping. It's like, isn't there something in between? And there will be over time. The reality, though, is that these are different customers, and we want to serve different kinds of creators with our plans. And instead of thinking about $3,000 a month being, seemingly very high, the best way to actually think about how Mighty Networks is priced, especially in the context of, our North Star, which is how do we drive experiential commerce? How do we enable this next class of creators with a purpose to redefine digital and social technologies, which is really, not that we're slackers or anything, but is quite ambitious. We've actually priced Mighty Business to be a absolute no-brainer for anybody to purchase. And that's why actually $57 a month is artificially low. So the way that we've structured this is that we want, for any creator that's getting started, who is new to Mighty Networks, who is really thinking about how they bring more of those pieces together, we want them to look at Mighty Business and be like, why is this thing so cheap? And then not think again about it, because they're able to pull together more and more of their pieces, really get started and focus on their business, as opposed to, what is that monthly fee? So with that, let's spend the sort of the next chunk of this presentation and this time together focused on Mighty Business. And again, if we do our jobs right, you're going to look at this and say, Mighty Networks should probably charge more money for this. And you would be right, but that's not our purpose. Our purpose with this is to really allow, a creator with a passion, an ability to bring people together, to dive into Mighty Business and a Mighty Network with kind of all of our bells and whistles in a way that allows them and allows you to focus on what you're building, and then grow it over time. So Mighty Business, really the goal is we offer everything in one place. The main difference between Mighty Business and Mighty Pro is, one, it serves different customers. Mighty Pro also has three things that Mighty Business does not have. So Mighty Business, you can domain map it on the web. It has a desktop web experience, a mobile web experience that can be basically put under your brand. The mobile app pieces are under the Mighty Networks app. So when your members open their phone, download the app that they're downloading is the Mighty Networks app. And it is really easy for them to find. You can just text themselves the app, it downloads it, it goes to your network. The mobile notifications are under Mighty Networks. The home screen or the icon on your member's phone is Mighty Networks, and in the store they would be downloading Mighty Networks. On Mighty Pro, all three of those things are branded for you. For some people, this is incredibly important to have. What we actually have found is that you can drive significantly higher engagement rates for almost the features that you think you're getting. So it's like, sometimes people come to us and they're like, well, all I get is the apps. That is a big effing deal. But here's what's really cool. You can start on Mighty Business. Don't think twice about the price. Get going, really understand, what you're able to do with a Mighty Network, and the way you can upgrade to Mighty Pro over time if you determine that is what you need to do to grow your business, grow your brand. A lot of benefits to it. It's totally seamless. It is one of the things that we're the most excited about on the Mighty Networks platform, is the fact that you can start a business and upgrade and transition to Mighty Pro whenever you are ready. So as we look at Mighty Business, and I'm going to share this presentation, so I'm not going to, go through sort of feature by feature. If you take nothing else away from this slide, it's that Mighty Business comes with a lot. And the things that you're getting with Mighty Business are a really phenomenal package of features and really things that work together super well, such that you can get the best sense of what you are able to do with experiential commerce, at a artificially and designed to be low price. And so we'll share this so you can go through these sort of one by one, and I'm also going to highlight a few things here. So, when you think about Mighty Pro and you think of, Mighty Business, and you think about managing it, one of the questions we get is, how much time is this going to take me? Well, guess what? It's a simple, easy to use host admin interface. You can turn features on or off. There are integrations that you have access to with Mighty Business that are phenomenal. And it is really designed so that you can manage this in a very short amount of time every day. We are all about, how do you get your members connected to each other? So that, the analogy that I use is, you can set up and host a party and then sneak upstairs and nobody knows that you're missing. Not that I have any personal experience with wanting that to be the case in many of the parties that I host, but it is really set up to be an easy host admin interface and way of managing it. And this is where we've really spent our time, which is, it's an awesome host admin interface and experience so that you can deliver an awesome experience to your members. So what you're looking at and what you'll see here in these screenshots is something, it's just our Mighty Business, sample Mighty network called the First Class Society. And, internally we've made up a great story behind the First Class Society, which is it's a travel agency owner Mighty network so that people can actually meet each other and get better and better at being travel agents. So let's dive into a few things to know about Mighty Business. One is, sometimes we take this for granted. A Mighty Business plan is completely integrated between the web, where again, you can domain map. So it's under your domain name on the web, and it's desktop web, it is mobile web. And then when somebody downloads your app or looks at the app, it's under the Mighty Networks brand and multi-tenant app, as it is called. And that experience, that once they get into your Mighty network, is integrated with what people are seeing on the web. So it's a totally integrated experience. Something really interesting, especially for our Mighty Business and below plans. We have sort of a way of thinking about it internally, which is people come via the web, but they stay because of mobile. So what we find is that the vast majority of people sign up to a Mighty Business plan via the web. But if you have a thriving, highly engaged Mighty network on our business plan, on our Mighty brand plan, or our Mighty blog plan, your members are using the apps. And they're using the Mighty Networks apps very successfully, or on our, in case of Mighty Pro, they're using our Mighty Pro plans under their brands very successfully. So what's interesting is, there's been this conversation, online and, in terms of the entrepreneurial world that says, everything's about apps. And then it was like, no, apps are dead. It's all about the web. And the reality is it's both. And that's something we're really proud of with Mighty Networks, is the fact that we offer a completely integrated experience at different price points and in slightly different configurations for creators with a purpose. So now let's shift into looking at some very specific features of Mighty Business. I think one of the things that we really think about a lot here is just kind of slowing down and like highlighting some of the things that we've built over the last few years. So let's just take it from the top. So in a Mighty Business plan, all of these features that, if we go back up to that managing experiential commerce, diagram is a little bit challenging. So we bring together in one place with Mighty Business at $57 a month, a complete search and discovery experience, everything related to, and some pretty surprising and delightful features, hopefully related to members meeting each other, topics, articles, events, and with Mighty Business specifically, unlimited groups and unlimited online courses. And everything is in one place. So just a word here, one thing that has been fascinating as we've brought these disparate pieces together, these pieces that, many people are used to having to go to all of these different platforms and try to like configure something all together, is sometimes we hear from people, oh my gosh, my members aren't totally clear how all of these things work together. And here's what I would say on that is it is totally understandable that as you are on the front lines as a creator with a purpose, bringing more of these pieces together, that it's going to be new. And we are in active collaboration with you, our hosts, what we're learning from the data and members to continually refine further and further and further how to bring these pieces together that people don't necessarily expect to be in the same place. Community, content, online courses, multiple groups, and increasingly what we're going to be launching around commerce. So what I would say is first and foremost, step one is we've got to bring all these pieces together and then continually refine how they all work together. And that is a collaboration with, each and every one of our hosts. And it's something that we are absolutely dedicated to, understanding and refining and continuing to push the envelope, because as I shared at the very beginning, the opportunity is too great and the mission is too important to not actually continue to focus in on how do these things work together. Because what we're talking about is how are we going to define human connection, not to sound too, crazy in terms of what we're doing here, but if we do this right, we are able to unlock for creators with a purpose the ability to bring their people together in ways that haven't been done to the level and to really the depth that we're talking about here. And that's really important to us. So just want to make the point that Mighty Business brings all of these pieces together, and it's really where we're focused is on how do we bring together things that haven't been brought together before in a way that is clearer and clearer and clearer with every new release that we offer. So thinking about kind of the features for members, one thing we offer with Mighty Business that we don't offer with other plans is the combination of groups and unlimited groups. So one of the things that you see, without Mighty Networks is if you have a brand where your people are so excited to meet other people who are near them, they actually have to create a group outside of your main group. We all have been in that, process where you are manually, keeping track of a web, on a web page, all the other, Facebook groups that are popping up because your members and your fans and followers and people in your group want to meet the other members in New Jersey, or want to meet the other members in Cupertino, California, or want to create a subgroup of, recently divorced women who want to climb Mount Kilimanjaro in your larger travel brand for women. It is a mess. So what we've done with Mighty Networks is offer with Mighty Business the ability to have unlimited groups that either you as the host can manage and control, or allow for your members to create on their own. Groups is a pretty important feature. It's actually something though that the worst thing you can do is, right as you're starting to move forward, set up something where you have a lot of empty groups. So we actually recommend using groups when you have sort of a larger Mighty network and sort of the demand for it is super high. We also have a really cool feature that nobody else has, which is member categories. And what member categories allow you as the host to do is to set up, we think about as density, so you can actually see, other travel agency owners in Chicago, Illinois, and be able to, you know, in this Face Explorer, really explore the members who are here. Profiles are beautiful. They're also functional. It's how we, you know, continue to look for ways of making it really easy to meet new people on a Mighty network, as opposed to, you know, trying to kind of retrofit platforms and collaboration software that's out there, for example, that, you know, is really designed for teams that already know each other. Direct messaging, super important, comes with all of our plans, but when you start to organize groups, courses, member categories, polls, events, all of these things together, the direct messaging becomes even more valuable on Mighty Business than in other ways in other places. Events right there, RSVPs. We don't have the ability to sell event tickets quite yet, but it's something that we absolutely want to get to this year. Features for content. So unlimited online courses come standard with Mighty Business. It has been fascinating. Something like 40%, 50% of our hosts have online courses in their turned on and are exploring them. Just a fantastic way to set something up that's structured, that is organized to share expertise and bring your members together with community events, and events being online, live video chats like the one we're having, or local, you know, local events and local meetups, all with location being a first-class feature within a Mighty network. We would never have built online courses unless we just had this overwhelming number of hosts, which we did and continue to have, who wanted them. And that's one of the key pieces of experiential commerce that we were like, oh my gosh, like, online courses should not live on their own platforms. They actually need to be integrated, just like going to school is, with being a part of a community and being a part of community and content and commerce, kind of all in one place. Yeah. Additionally, you know, we have topics that it can be completely customized for your Mighty network. We recommend having between 8 and 10, so that you're not kind of overwhelming everybody, but that certainly is a guidepost as opposed to a set in law rule. And then our articles, our posts, posts are meant to be fast and quick and kind of have a more limited feature set, where articles are really designed to be the place where you can create something hopefully magical, where you can embed video, you can embed audio files, you can embed, you know, PDFs, you can embed photos. And the goal is really to be able to create something that is beautiful and special, so that, you know, in many cases, our creators with a purpose want to, you know, attract people in with the brand, the content, but people stay, the members stay for community. Interactive polls and questions. I think I covered this a little bit earlier. They're awesome. Please use them. They are your secret weapon. And lastly, you know, features for integration comes with our Mighty Business Plan. So we run all of our APIs through a third-party service called Zapier, which is really defined and designed for, you know, simple, easy recipes for integrating with, whether it's your CRM, whether it's MailChimp, whether it's you know, a membership site. All of those things are really designed. Mighty Networks has designed it so that it works through Zapier, so it's just super easy for you guys. We also offer with Mighty Business Google Analytics integration, as well as the ability to add your Facebook ad pixel as well. So in terms of getting started, just a couple things. As I mentioned up front, we're going to go through and have a separate session that really gets into the brass tacks of moving, you know, which pieces to move, how to move, you know, how to launch a Mighty network. We have a lot of experience in this, and it's something that we're really excited to roll up our sleeves and collaborate a lot more closely with our hosts to be able to migrate more of what they're doing today, that mess, into a Mighty network. But the point I would make here is that our hosts are starting in a lot of different places. So somebody like Tara McMullen, starting with community. And someone like Peter Diamandis, who founded the X Prize, really started with memberships and rewards. So how does he execute his membership site, and being able to do that through a Mighty network. Somebody like Five Mary Farms and Mary Heffernan just launched her first online course for online small business owners and business owners who, like, it just looks incredible. She's a rancher and an entrepreneur up 5 hours from here in Northern California. And I just think what she's doing is absolutely incredible. And she's starting with a Mighty network just with online courses. So there's a lot of different ways to get started. You know, we recognize the fact that you have created something really special, or you may or may not be looking at Mighty networks today. And we are here to help with this migration, and really thinking through how to balance, you know, the different pieces in your business with, you know, this future that's coming around experiential commerce. I'm gonna go through these pretty quickly because I think we've talked about some examples, and I want to make sure that we have time for questions, and we can go a little bit over if you guys have time as well to go over. But you know, I mentioned Roger Whitney before. What's really interesting about what he's doing with Rock Retirement and the Rock Retirement Club on a Mighty network is he's charging $39.99. He's generating his audience from his podcast and his book, and the engagement within his Mighty network for people who want to learn from other people, their stories, their experiences, their ideas. It's a really powerful example of why we exist as Mighty networks, and the way he's using the Mighty business plan has just been phenomenal. Sidewalk Dog just launched, you know, I think 4 months ago now. They are a local chapter or a local based Mighty network. So different than Rock Retirement, where they are organizing and building local brands for people and their dogs. So they're in Chicago, they are in Seattle and Denver, and really doing some incredible things. And it's so lovely to see the brand that they're able to build on the web, the engagement they're able to generate on mobile. And we just think that there's tremendous potential for this kind of local chapter model as well. And then I just want to point out a Mighty Pro plan that started as a Mighty business plan with Commune. Jeff Krasno, they came in actually through Yoga with Adrian, which started on our Mighty blog plan and then upgraded to our Mighty business plan, and now it's actually one of our largest Mighty Pro plans. It's all really smooth. You know, you can start on Mighty Business, upgrade at any point to Mighty Pro, and our whole goal is to make it as smooth as possible to see through that transition as you go. So that's all a long-winded way of saying, you know, Mighty Business is the best place to get started. If you're not sure about Mighty Pro, you can always go there later, and you'll see better results on Mighty Pro. It's also a lot more expensive. You don't have to worry about it today. You can just get started with Mighty Business, and there's all of these benefits of doing so. So before I head into questions, I want to share a little bit about where we're going and what our North Star is. So when we look at why we exist at Mighty Networks, our goal is really to make more creators more money with experiential commerce. It is new, it is early, there are lots of pieces, there are lots of, you know, unanswered optimizations and what are the best practices that we will all discover together. But at the end of the day, if we help, and our one key way for creators with a purpose to build something incredible for the people that they serve, we think that that is a phenomenal way of spending our time and for you to spend your time. And specifically, the more money you make, the more you can invest in creating incredible experiences and bringing more people into your world. And we think a world that has hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of different unique, you know, private communities, creative communities, quirky and unique communities where somebody shows up and because of the work that you have done can sit back and say, I'm home then we are all doing something really important, and something that, you know, fortunately or unfortunately, technology is making not just more possible, but if we're not very thoughtful about how we're curating our social experiences, there's a lot of risk that we're going to actually end up worse off. And so I don't think any of us want that. And I think the answer is a creator-led platform that is about how we enable at Mighty Networks each and every one of you to make more money doing what you love, because that's going to be infectious in terms of you creating then incredible experiences for the people that you serve. So how are we thinking about that today? You know, our focus right now is on driving adoption, and specifically meeting existing demand that I think we've all talked about. Certainly some of the folks on this live event have had long conversations, but expanded payment options. So our expanded payment options are going to come with Mighty Business, and that's the ability to bundle or charge separately for online courses, group membership and access, and different packages of features within your Mighty Network, so you can essentially establish membership levels. The idea, if you think about a simple analogy, is, you know, instead of charging for an app, you give the app away for free, and then there are in-app payments for certain areas or certain features. That is what we are working on right now. After that, we have a plan for more ways of driving connections between members with custom profile fields, as well as some, you know, improvements we're going to make around those connections, followed by language localization, followed by more media options. So that's kind of how we're thinking about it. We may shift the language localization and media options, but we are in a focused tunnel right now to get payments and payment bundles out the door. Those will come with Mighty Business. So it's certainly in everybody's interest, especially if you're planning on doing bundles, to make sure you're on the Mighty Business plan today, so that when we roll that out, and as we roll that out, which we're targeting mid-April for that, really being able to have everything already set up and in place. So that's something that's important to us. From there, moving to guided creation, again, with this North Star of experiential commerce, how can we help more kinds of creators with a purpose get the most out of not just a Mighty Network, but how a Mighty Network can serve what you want to do with your members, but also what we know from other Mighty Networks and across the platform, what's probably going to work the best. Because again, if we all deliver better end user experiences, better member experiences, better consumer experiences, we're going to be able to create a category here that moves things forward. So that's really exciting from our perspective. And then, you know, looking out beyond that, we really want to make it possible such that experiential commerce becomes as easy as selling a t-shirt. So if you think about 10 years ago, if you were a creator, you were a small business owner, and you wanted to like launch an e-commerce store, there was no Shopify. There was no simple way of getting started and just starting to add. Like, you actually had to put together inventory management and security and your website and all of these different pieces, and you had to have custom development. And today, you just basically have to put in your credit card and set up your Shopify store. That's what we want to do with experiential commerce. And so understanding what are the pieces that you should build first. Should you start with an online course? Should you start with a membership community? Should you start with just an event series and what that would actually look like? That's our vision for where we go, that all of that becomes a series of recommendations, almost as if you have a business advisor who's built into your pocket and can help you make really good decisions about what you're building and how you're building it faster, better, more effectively than certainly is the case with that mess of separate platforms that is the case today. And, you know, if we do this well, something special really happens. More creators lead to more members getting more comfortable with putting in their credit card for an event or a subscription or rewards or an online course, just means more money goes into experiential commerce. More money goes into experiential commerce. More people are going to actually expand into other niches and other interests and passions and goals, which is only going to make people more and more comfortable in terms of buying experiences, access to relationships and curated relationships and expertise, which is better for all of us. We want to build this together. Why I think Mighty Business is the best deal in town. It really does allow you over time to be able to reduce the number of SaaS fees that you're paying, software as a service, monthly subscriptions that you're paying or annual costs that you're paying. But more importantly, you're able to save yourself time and also bring your members together in a way that is probably going to, over time, be a much better experience for them than that kind of mess of moving and DMing in 14,000 different places. We're thinking bigger than just, yes, Mighty Business comes with unlimited groups, unlimited courses, and all of the integrations. But more importantly, Mighty Business is where we are betting on the future of, again, people buying services in new ways, buying and participating in experiential commerce in new ways. And so hopefully we continue to prove every day that we are a team that is dedicated to your success and the success of creators like you. We're not going to hit the mark every single day as in the bar that we have for ourselves, but we are committed, and we're committed to this bigger picture because we think it's absolutely what and how the opportunity exists in the world for each of us. Whether we're a creator with a purpose or whether we're a person who's out there kind of feeling alone or is just looking for you and the business that you're creating and the brand that you're building and the community that you're connecting to each other in a completely new and interesting way. So with that, why don't we take a few minutes of questions? We won't be able to have as many questions as we wanted because I probably took a little bit too long to talk, but hopefully it was worth it. And with that, Brian, why don't you share with me, a couple questions, and why don't we go about 5 minutes over? So we'll end this at, in about 10 minutes.
Yep. So a lot of people have been asking about strategy and decision-making about experiential commerce. So how can hosts get strategy help for their business?
Yeah, it's a great question. So first and foremost, we're in early days, and let's just make sure that we're all on the same page that says this thing's happening. And right now, like where we're at is like each and every one of us are trying to manage experiential commerce on like 10 different platforms. Okay. Step one. So step one is acknowledging that, knowing that we have a problem. And we're running experiments very quickly right now around where and how can we start a series of identify a series of best practices for migration. So over the next 2 weeks, what you will start to hear from us are, especially for our Mighty Business Plan and our Mighty Pro accounts, is some of the things that we are learning and that strategy. So we have really sort of well-established strategy around engagement and how are you driving engagement with your Mighty networks. We also actually have a pretty good handle at this point looking at the data related to how to launch your Mighty network very successfully. So we'll follow up with sessions on that. So I guess that's another way of saying we're in early days. Expect more from us on the strategy side. And if I leave you with nothing else on this call, sign up for Mighty Business. It's going to be where, for the vast majority of people, getting started with experiential commerce and really even just having the foundation in which to understand the strategy is the place to be.
Cool. So I have a follow-up question in terms of our company. I know you touched on it since the beginning. We've been around for 8 years, but people just want to know more about the company. How not how long we've been in business, but what's our future look like, and where we're going, basically.
Sure. Well, so hopefully this presentation accomplished a few of those things. So also take a look at our About page. So in terms of understanding the history of Mighty Networks, I'm the founder. Before Mighty Networks, I founded a platform called Ning, which gave people a way to create their own social networks. We started in 2004, launched Ning Networks in 2007, and in 2010, I left to start Mighty Networks. And our focus at Mighty Networks is, again, on experiential commerce and supporting creators with a purpose. We generate revenue. We are well funded, and we have no intention of going anywhere. So it's really important for me and for us that we have maintained control of our company and our platform, because our mission, our North Star, is to really create a thriving category for experiential commerce and support creators with a purpose in ways that put them first. And I think there are incredible platforms that are out there that do different pieces of what we do, but no one is committed to looking at the holistic picture of what a creator with a purpose needs in order to be successful, in order to create the most delightful consumer and member experiences. And that's our focus and our commitment.
Cool. And then last question, a lot of people they have existing services and basically like MailChimp or ActiveCampaign.
Yeah.
Can you touch more on like integrations and how that's possible with working with our platform?
Yes, absolutely. So first and foremost, get on Mighty Business. If you're not on Mighty Business right now, you want to be on Mighty Business. If you want to do integrations with other services, Mighty Business is your plan. That is one of the key pieces of Mighty Business. And then, as I mentioned, we use a third-party service called Zapier, because they make it super easy for us to feed in, different components of our business, and then they hook it up with different components of other businesses. So for example, if you have MailChimp and you want as people join your Mighty Network, to feed those names and email addresses into your MailChimp list, you do that through Mighty Business and choosing Mighty Business and setting up Zapier. If you have a CRM that is behind the scenes, fantastic. Every time people join your Mighty Network, you can feed them into your CRM using Zapier. Even better, let's say you have people joining and paying on your website, which again, we totally support with Mighty Business, totally like all good. We'll be integrating more payment options in, but like you've got to set up the right kind of setup for yourself and your brand. So let's say you have a website where you have payments set up, and every time someone buys something, you can use Zapier to automatically generate an invitation to a Mighty Network, to your Mighty Network, when you're on the Mighty Business plan. So one of the things that, in addition to kind of the meat behind migrating your different business components to a Mighty Network and starting to move faster on, your ability to seize on experiential commerce, and then set up the right integrations, there's a bunch of stuff that not only we want to offer from a resource perspective in terms of content and tutorials and things like that, but also actually as a service package. So stay tuned for that. Hopefully, that is another reason to take advantage of the offer that we want to, again, just thank you guys for joining us today. So maybe one more question, Brian?
Yeah, so we've answered this quite a few times, but a lot of hosts want to know when paid courses and groups or different levels of access.
Yeah.
So I think there's some overlap there.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have taken our time with this feature, and there's a very specific reason for it. We're dealing with your money and we're dealing with your members' money. So we want to be very thoughtful and very cautious in ensuring that when we're dealing with people's money, that we take our time. So we're not rushing this out. Our current plan is kind of mid to late April to launch paid courses, paid groups, and paid bundles. And when we talk about bundles, that's essentially membership levels. So what I would say is thank you for your patience on that. We are really focused right now on ensuring that it is something that in the first version feels natural, makes sense, works the way it's supposed to work. And as CEO of Mighty Networks, if I don't feel like we've hit the bar on that, I will hold that release and we will continue to improve upon it. But right now, we're planning it for call it late April.
Cool. I think that's time, Gina.
All right. Well, you guys, thank you so much for joining us today. This is the first time we've done something like this. So, any and all feedback is fantastic. Do you like hearing about kind of our bigger picture, the things that we're doing and thinking about internally? Are you excited about some of the sessions that we're talking about doing related to migration and integrations? And just any other feedback would be absolutely fantastic. And thank you guys again for joining. And hopefully I can just end on this note, which is, we're super grateful for you. We're super grateful for the work that you're doing. And, I hope you'll take advantage of this offer that we're making, and just generally the offer that we have with Mighty Business, because, we want you to use it. We want you to buy it. We want you to use it. We are designing it so it is really easy to take advantage of, just what we hope is a absolute no-brainer deal because of this bigger picture and this bigger context of what we're all operating in, which is, I believe the future is experiential commerce. And we're all working together in early days to make it a reality. So thank you.